The system menu is accessible to all users, but only the selections they have permission to use will be visible. Everyone has access to the Help and Support submenu, where they can view the name and address of the site. The service contacts are also visible to all. This will generally be the contact information of the company that installed or supports the Backtrax BT-1. View Help Files will display the help file and all of its contents, while the About box will display legal notices or other information about the Backtrax BT-1. The Edit Settings submenu is used to change the system settings. The Site Settings is where the site and service company contact information is edited. This can be any information you wish, but should at least contain a contact phone number or email address. The Network Settings dialog has several tabs. Most of the settings here should only be changed by the IT department or someone qualified to change them. Incorrect settings could cause the unit to become unreachable on your network. The meaning of the settings on the IP tab are known to qualified personnel, and explaining them is beyond the scope of this video, so let's move on to the Email tab. Email is currently used mainly for emailing alarm notifications. The email settings here are very standard, and the settings will depend on your email service provider. Please note that if you are using Gmail or Yahoo, you must acquire an app password from them to use as the password here. The Port tab is used to change the network ports used by the Backtrax BT-1. The BACnet port can be changed, as well as the web server port. SSH and SFTP can be enabled here, but if the unit is connected to the internet, it should never be enabled unless there is a specific reason to do so, and it should be turned back off as soon as possible. And the password should be changed before enabling them. The TimeSync tab allows setting up two types of time synchronization. The first is NTP. Enabling this will cause the Backtrax BT-1 to contact the specified NTP server for the correct time every morning a few minutes after 3 a.m. Enabling the BACnet time synchronization will cause the Backtrax BT-1 to broadcast the current date and time to all devices on the network every morning a few minutes after 3 a.m. Both of these can also be done on demand by clicking the Now buttons. The last setting selection is the Time Date settings. The date and time can be manually set here if no NTP server is available. The Use 24-hour checkbox will set most screens to use a 24-hour clock instead of an AM/PM clock. There are a few places where this setting cannot be honored. The longitude and latitude can be set here, as well as the time zone. It is important that the time zone be correct if your area uses any type of daylight savings time. The next submenu is Users and Groups. A group is created and assigned a set of permissions. Users are then created and assigned to one or more groups. After creating a group, click the Edit button and assign the permissions for this group. A group can have all permissions, no permissions, or anything in between. A graphic display, schedule, or other object from the tree can be dropped on the home screen box to automatically open it when a user in this group logs in or clicks the Home button on the toolbar. Here is an example of a group for low-level users. They have permission to view most things, but no permission to modify anything. Note that if a user has access to a graphic display that contains a gadget that allows changing a value, then that user will be allowed to change it. Up to 100 users are allowed. This includes the administrator, who cannot be deleted. The administrator always has permission to do everything and view the entire device tree. The administrator is also the only user allowed to edit groups and users. Now let's create a new user named Joe Smith. The username is the name he will type at the login screen. The full name is used in the activity log and a few other places. The email address is only required if this user will be receiving automatic emails, such as alarm notifications. The contact information is optional and can include any information you wish. A graphic display or other object can be dropped on the home screen box to automatically open it when Joe logs in. Note that this is in addition to the home screens of any groups he belongs to. Every user must belong to at least one group. Select these groups on the Group tab. This user can now log in and will have the permissions of the group named Users. The next submenu is the Logs and Status. The first selection will display the System status. This shows important information about the system, including the firmware version, serial number, and IP address. The amount of free memory and storage space is also displayed, along with the status, name, and object identifiers of all BACnet devices on the network. The system message log shows any messages generated by the backtracks BT-1. If you're ever experiencing problems, this is the first place to check. This log shows there was a successful firmware update right before the last reboot, and it booted up with no errors or warnings. The last log selection is the User Activity Log. This records the most recent 1,000 logins or changes to properties or settings, along with the time, username, and IP address, and some details specific to the activity. The last submenu is Server Functions, and the first selection is Database Backup. This will download a copy of all database files to your computer. This is very important to do once everything is set up, and also on a regular basis to preserve trend logs, alarms, and other stored data. The next selection is Database Restore. This is how the saved database is restored back into the backtracks BT-1 in case it is ever lost, or to copy the databases to another unit. Just click Choose File, select the database file on your computer, then click Upload. Once it is complete, select Reboot Server. This will restart the backtracks BT-1 and apply the new databases. Shutdown Server is used to completely power down the backtracks BT-1. After shutting down, the power will need to be removed and reapplied to the unit to boot it back up again. Firmware Update is used to load a new firmware file into the backtracks BT-1. This is used to obtain the latest features and bug fixes. Usually, it is not necessary to update the firmware unless you are having a problem or want one of the new features. After uploading the firmware file, the unit must be rebooted from this same menu. The final selection is Enter Code. This is only needed in special circumstances when tech support gives you a code to type in here. It can otherwise just be ignored.